guys, it's Robin Schneider with another episode recap for Doctor Who Online. This week we're talking about episode 10, Vincent and the Doctor. While I was watching this episode, I thought it was quite honestly stunning, but 5 minutes after it was over, I found myself a little confused by it. I think this is because Who usually sticks to the beat of saving a planet from an impending alien threat or some giant evil. And while this episode of Who did have an alien threat, it was definitely secondary to the main theme of the episode, which had to be depression. First, let's talk about the good. This was definitely a character episode, which I love. As fantastic as it is when the Doctor saves the world, what makes him the Doctor is his compassion. And the only way to fully realize that is to have episodes such as this one. I also love Tony Kieran as Vincent van Gogh. I thought he perfectly encapsulated the tortured, depressed artist in an amazingly sympathetic portrayal, and I'll admit I almost cried at the end in the scene in the Musée d'Orsay. I also loved how Vincent was able to see Amy's sadness, a sadness that Amy wasn't aware she had. I also love how this episode picks up where Cold Blood left off, with Amy now having forgotten Rory and everyone else being aware of this. This was an element that I really enjoyed in this episode of Who, how both the audience and the Doctor are aware of something about Amy that she is not aware of. I think it's very interesting, the fact that we and the Doctor are grieving for Rory in a way that Amy isn't. And this makes us be able to fully appreciate in turn that Amy hasn't been able to work through her loss, that she doesn't even realize she's lost something, and perhaps that is the most meaningful loss of all. I loved how in this episode Amy has also subtly become a very different character. The Doctor isn't quite sure what to make of her. He sees her now as fragile, as having suffered a great loss, and she's very confused by his actions. She's, in the beginning, why are you being so nice to me? Also how Amy and Vincent van Gogh start flirting. That was never something that we had in episodes. Amy could never be the flirty companion because she was always tied to Rory. I also thought it was very interesting how Amy grieved the loss of Vincent rather than Rory in this episode. And the point when they're fighting the Crephaeus, when the Doctor says, okay, Amy, Vincent, and everyone's like, who's Rory? I thought that was a really touching moment. I thought that was really well done. I also loved Vincent van Gogh as the unwilling hero. I thought it was brilliant the way he was the only one who could see the alien threat, and by that had to defend Amy and took it upon himself to be the hero in this scenario. Although I do wish that the Crephaeus and its invisibility and what it was doing there had been further explained. It made me think about those who constantly battle personal demons and how when they're absolutely convinced that there's no hope for themselves, they turn to saving others as something to give them hope. I thought it was very interesting, the comparisons drawn really between all of the characters fighting their own personal tragedies. You've got Van Gogh convinced that he is the only person who will ever appreciate his art, that he will die alone and unremembered. You've got Amy, who is not quite certain why she has this sadness in her, but other people seem to be perceiving it. And the thing is, she never could fully mourn Rory's loss, and I think it's going to hit her even harder when she realizes what she's lost, in that she has no memory of it. She can't hold on to the good bits to lessen the suffering. There are no good bits left for her. There's nothing. There's just the tragedy of the vast emptiness of the place where Rory should be. And you've got the Doctor, who is ancient and sad and so lonely and needs a companion to keep him going, to keep him motivated to save the world over and over again, thanklessly. And you've also got the Crephaeus. I thought it was very interesting the way they portrayed this alien throughout the episode. And you see this creature terrorizing these villagers and terrorizing the Doctor, and it only comes out at the end that he wasn't terrorizing them at all. It turns out that this creature was left behind by his pack, and that he's blind and lonely and scared. And I think Van Gogh's character puts it best when he says about the alien, it wasn't without mercy at all, but without sight. I really love the Doctor's remorse and everyone's sadness over the Crephaeus dying. We rarely see the Doctor fighting against something that has not made the conscious decision to be evil. I think it was a very interesting point that not all evil doings come from bad motivation. The one thing I really loved about this episode was when the Doctor and Amy decided to take Vincent van Gogh with them on the TARDIS into the future, and show him the impact that his paintings have had on the world. I thought that was incredible because Vincent really saved the Doctor and Amy. He really fought as part of a team, and I like that he didn't save them all thanklessly. I mean, we've all dreamed of it. We've all dreamed of going forward into the future and seeing what impact, you know, we have on the world, and I think it was a really fantastic dream realization for Van Gogh, for it to be so much more than he could have ever imagined. I thought it was a very touching scene. It was very atypical of Doctor Who, but perhaps that's why it got to me and worked for me so well. I loved it when Amy went back to the exhibition, so sure that there would be hundreds more Van Gogh works, and us as the viewers being scared that there wouldn't be any. And just seeing these tiny differences. Having Amy realise just how thankless what she and the Doctor were doing, how what they did could save somebody in a moment, but the echoes of it throughout the universe were minuscule at best. I also really loved it when Amy said, "I'm not the marrying type," which I thought was fascinating. It's this new insight into her character without Rory, because if you take away Rory from everything that happened to her, you had Amy waiting for the Doctor after Prisoner Zero by herself for 2 years. So I really think the Doctor has a very heavy mantle of responsibility now toward Amy Pond, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. What I didn't like about the episode, I thought the threat of the Prophets was really, really weak. I wish it could have been ratcheted up a notch with the tension, because while people were dying, we weren't getting this urgent threat feeling that we typically get in episodes of Who, where the Doctor has arrived just in the nick of time, in the right place to save everyone. I also, unfortunately, thought that Karen Gillan's portrayal of Amy Pond in this episode wasn't quite as deep as it needed to be. She was very arch with her portrayal of Amy, but when Vincent said, "I see you crying," I didn't see her crying at all. I also didn't like the portrayal of the Doctor as helpless against the Corpheus. I thought it was an interesting touch that the Doctor couldn't see what he was fighting, but he really almost gave up on fighting it. And also his use of the visual recognition device to see the monster was interesting at first, but in a lot of the chase scenes, it looked a little bit like steampunk Ghostbusters. Question for the comments. How different did you think Amy would be after the Cold Blood episode? And were you surprised or not surprised? What did you think worked about the changes in Amy's character in this episode? Let us know on DWO or in the comments. Thanks for watching.